Next on All Access.
The organization is taking every precaution possible to ensure player safety.
I don't know what the plexiglass bill around here is, but it's got to be pretty high.
Is there really a quarterback competition, or is Cam Newton just totally taken over?
I think he's the guy. I mean, at this point, it's been several practices now where he sort of leads most of the periods, and he's getting more of the reps.
I think every day we walk out there, there's a little bit more of an appreciation for the opportunity to do it, just because it was, sort of removed there for a while.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this training camp edition of Patriots All Access presented by Geico. I'm Steve Burton. In just 16 days, the Patriots will host the Miami Dolphins in their season opener right behind me at Gillette Stadium, and we'll talk about football a little later on in the show. But to kick things off, we want to talk about how the NFL is preparing to play in the midst of a global pandemic. Let's start behind the scenes with Dan Roach as our tour guide to see how the Patriots are preparing to play during COVID-19.
This tent and this trailer are what greet players and staff as they get ready to enter the Football Operations Center at Gillette Stadium. COVID-19 nasal swabbing and temperature checks are all part of the daily routine. Inside the stadium, the organization is taking every precaution possible to ensure player safety.
More plexiglass for sure. I don't know what the plexiglass bill around here is, but it's got to be pretty high.
The land development in and around Gillette Stadium is a plus, as event business locations such as the Optum Club and the Cross Insurance Pavilion are now being used to host full squad and positional meetings. Even the media workroom is being repurposed.
As it always does, the process starts with ownership, who absolutely unleashed the great capabilities of all the resources at our disposal here. Kind of take what we have and outfit it to how we have to do business now. That includes expanding into other areas of Gillette Stadium and Patriot Place that we honestly would never even consider using in the past, but due to the distancing guidelines that we need to follow, we're now into spaces that are, in some senses, even better than what we had before.
Inside football operations, health and safety reminders are everywhere. Change is everywhere. During camp, the visiting locker rooms are being utilized for the larger roster. Inside the home locker room, social distancing is the norm.
When I walk around the building, I feel safe, and I think the players do as well. I think they've done a fantastic job. Our operations people definitely deserve a shout out, because this is such a fluid situation.
And to see everybody come together as one team, Coach Belichick, the coaching staff, our veteran players have been remarkable in their leadership and just setting a tone for how everybody should act here. That group has done a tremendous job in kind of getting us on the right path here to start the season.
Well, it's no surprise to me that the Patriots are doing everything possible to protect their players. Steve, from Robert Kraft to Bill Belichick, all the way down the entire staff, it's protect the players, make sure that they're okay, everything as we go about this pandemic.
All right, let me ask you this, Danny, because you've been out here at practice. What is the biggest difference that you've seen on the practice field during this COVID situation?
Well, the first thing I noticed, Bill Belichick. That's the first thing I wanted to look at. Obviously we know he's getting up there a little bit in age. Does he have a mask on? He does, wearing a mask. His favorite part of training camp is teaching.
Right.
So he's teaching with that mask on. He's still talking to the players, still hands-on as much as he can be. That's one thing. The other thing, disinfectant. They're spraying down equipment. They're making sure they're taking care of water breaks. Everyone's doing their own individual thing. And again, it's safety first. Are they perfect? No, we don't know as we go about this pandemic, but Patriots are trying to do everything possible they can to protect everybody involved.
All right, and they're being very, very smart about it. Thank you very much, Danny Roach. We'll be back with more Patriots All Access right after this.
Coming up on All Access. we've got your latest fantasy football information.
I mean, he's the top dog among that wide receiver group, but I will give you a couple of sleepers, maybe.
But first, a conversation with Bill Belichick.
There's a little bit of added urgency to do the right thing so that we can play football.
You're watching Patriots All Access.
Patriots All Access is brought to you by Bank of America, official bank of the New England Patriots. By Putnam Investments and the New England Patriots, proud partners committed to an active game plan on the field and off. And by Pepsi. That's what I like. Pepsi, official soft drink of the New England Patriots.
Next on All Access.
Hi, my name is John Jones of the New England Patriots.
You got lost.
Hold it, 15 seconds here.
So Brandon, this is going to be really easy.
I don't want to be a GIF on Twitter, basically. Next on All Access.
Coming up on All Access.
Jules, we're done.
Yeah, we're good. All right, guys.
Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Julian. Welcome back to All Access presented by Geico. I'm Steve Burton. We're now going to take you inside Gillette Stadium where Scott Zolak sits down with head coach Bill Belichick. Thanks a lot, Steve. Welcome back to Patriots All Access, everybody. Time now to sit down and talk with Coach Belichick as I bring him in here. And, Coach, it's pretty much near impossible to put the entire National Football League into a bubble. To date, how pleased are you with what the organization has done to allow your team and yourself as a staff included to feel safe and still accomplish all the work that you want to get done?
Yeah, this has really been a collective team effort from the organization and the facilities setup that we have to all the players, staff, and support people with the cooperation and I would say diligence and discipline that everybody has shown. You know, we've had a very smooth operation and a lot of consistency in that area to enable us to do our things, do the things on the field that we need to do. So, yeah, it's been a very, very good cooperative effort.
Talk about how great it felt to actually step onto the football field for that first practice physically.
I think one thing now, even though we're pretty far into the process, I think every day we walk out there, there's a little bit more of an appreciation for the opportunity to do it, just because it was, sort of removed there for a while. So at least now, when we walk out there, we have, the feeling that it's good to be out there, and if things don't go well, we won't be out there. So there's a little bit of added urgency to do the right thing so that we can play football.
Almost 2 weeks in pads now, and that's where you can really tell, who's going to make the football team, who is, and assess where your team is at right now, and how well the team has responded to what you've asked them to do.
Well, I think the team's responded very well. They've given, as I said, great effort on the field, but great effort off the field as well to do all the things that we need to do so that we actually can play football, and definitely gaining on it, getting there, and looking forward to opening the season here in just a couple of weeks.
All right, Coach, thanks so much for your time. All the best the rest of camp, and I look forward to seeing you on week 1.
All right, sounds good, Scott. Thanks.
All right, there's Coach Belichick. Hang on, more Patriots All Access will return right after this.
The Kraft family and the Patriots Foundation have always focused their work on and off the field. But in these unprecedented times, they knew their commitment to supporting New England was more vital than ever.
We can't thank you and your family enough for helping make this happen.
People are looking for good things. It's time for us to rally together and solve these kinds of issues.
Hi, Patriots fans. I'm Megan O'Brien, and it's time now for your Patriots Fantasy Football Preview brought to you by DraftKings.
Dives to the end zone. Powers his way in for a touchdown. Touchdown, Patriots!
I'm now joined by Patriots.com's Paul Perillo. Paul, we've been at every practice for the Patriots. Let's look at skill position players. We'll start with the quarterback. Who's going to make an impact?
Well, to me, it's been pretty obvious. If you're watching training camp practice, Cam Newton is the quarterback for the New England Patriots. I think he's a good play. I think his running and passing ability will rack up some fantasy points. I think that is the guy. It's probably going to get better as it goes along. It might be a little rocky at the start. Wait it out.
I think a lot of fantasy players are waiting for that official announcement, but you just said it. Cam's the starter, so lock him in.
Fires down the middle for Edelman. Into his hands. Touchdown, Patriots!
Let's move on to wide receivers. You got a mixture of experience and youth. Who do you like at wide receiver?
Well, this is really no surprise here. It's Julian Edelman. He's the top dog among that wide receiver group. But I will give you a couple of sleepers maybe to keep an eye on. One guy I really liked from training camp is Damiere Byrd. Really good speed, might be a big play kind of a guy. Gunnar Olszewski, a guy that's really showing up a little bit. You know, these are later on in the draft. You know, you get down to the end, these guys might be some good value picks.
And value's right, because Edelman, you have to worry about the injuries, so you never know.
Hand off to Michel, running it to the right, cuts it inside, and with a dive, he's into the end zone. Touchdown, Patriots!
Let's check in on the Patriots running backs. Paul, who do you like?
You know, this is a tough one. You know, Bill Belichick likes to keep us all guessing, but to me, it's a four-headed attack, a four-headed monster. A lot of different guys to choose from. If you're asking me specifically who will be the lead dog, I'm going to go Sony Michel. I think he'll get the majority of the carries, but we know how Belichick likes to do it. It'll be a committee approach.
After this camp, I really like Damian Harris, but, you know, if they're healthy, James White and Rex Burkhead might not be bad flex options. DraftKings is the official daily fantasy partner of the New England Patriots, and you can play free for your share of millions of dollars in prizes during Week 1. Plus, you can be crowned the next DraftKings millionaire if you take home the $1 million top prize. Download the app and play free today.
Patriots All Access is brought to you by Bank of America, official bank of the New England Patriots. By Putnam Investments and the New England Patriots, proud partners committed to an active game plan on the field and off. And by Pepsi. That's what I like. Pepsi, official soft drink of the New England Patriots.
A quick look at the active rushing touchdown leaders may surprise you. It's not a surprise to see Marshawn Lynch, Shady McCoy, Mark Ingram, and Adrian Peterson round out the top four. How about who's tied for the 5th spot?
Welcome back to Patriots All Access, everyone. Time now for our panel discussion with Paul Perillo and Megan O'Brien. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you, Steve.
Let's talk about the quarterback competition, or Is there really a quarterback competition, or is Cam Newton just totally taken over?
I think he's the guy. I mean, at this point, it's been several practices now where he sort of leads most of the periods and he's getting more of the reps. I still think it's a little uneven, the performance, but I think what they have to do, I think what Bill Belichick has to do is get him up to speed with this offense and get him ready to go. And you can't do that if you continue to divide up all the reps evenly.
Well, if you ask Cam Newton, he'll tell you there's definitely a quarterback competition. He's not even focused on being named the starter. Obviously, he's adapted well to New England because he doesn't care about titles. But Paul's right. At some point, they will have to divide up the reps. They will have to declare who the starting quarterback is if they're going to be prepared for that home opener against Miami.
What seems to me, they've already divided up the reps. Newton is getting more and more reps now.
Right, and that's what we've seen probably the last 4 or 5 practices. That's really been the case, whether it's been in full pads, in full 11-on-11, or just 7-on-7 in shells. You know, it's Cam Newton, and again, it has to be, if you expect him to start against Miami, this is a new offense. The other two guys, Brian Hoyer and Jarrett Stidham, they have some experience in the system. Cam doesn't. He needs as much work now as he can get.
Well, last week we talked about how Cam was progressing each day, but he was still thinking quite a bit. I think he's starting to build chemistry now with some guys, especially with Julian Edelman, and we all know how important that is.
Running backs. Is there a running back competition? Sony Michel came back this week, but Damien Harris has been carrying the load.
Yeah, and, you know, it's been interesting to watch, you know, those second-year guys. You always want to keep an eye on them. You see how much more comfortable they look, and I think Damien Harris has looked a lot more comfortable. Now, we'll see what happens once Sony is back, you know, full speed, full go, and he's putting the days together. I thought he looked really, really sharp when he first got back on the field. We'll see if that continues. If it does, he's the guy.
He's the guy.
In my mind, yeah.
Well, it's obviously good to see Michel back at practice, especially after being on PUP. I think he had an underwhelming season last year, if that's fair to say. Damien Harris, I think, is a guy they have high expectations for.
Aren't they curious?
I think they are, but what's really difficult, it's hard to tell what you're going to get out of these running backs when they're not tackling during practice. So I think we'll learn a lot within the first few games about Harris and Michel.
All right, let's go between the goalposts. I'm talking about the kicker. Do we have a kicker situation?
So we got a lot of competition, Steve.
Competition all over.
There's a lot of battles. Yeah, and I thought it was interesting.
They drafted a kicker.
You know, earlier in the week, Bill Belichick was asked about Nick Folk, who they brought back. He was here last year. And I thought it was interesting that he said, yeah, we've had ongoing conversations, and this is when they signed him, it worked out at that point. So, yeah, I think it was something they wanted to have some competition for the rookie Justin Rohrwasser. He hasn't really kicked a whole lot during the practices that we've been able to attend. Now, lately, that's starting to change, but it looks like there's definitely a competition there.
And that's the thing I've been wondering about, because we haven't seen much of Rohrwasser until Folk came in. So now I'm curious to see how he'll rise to the occasion that he has some competition.
All right, so here's a question I have. Is there a possibility they'll keep 2 kickers?
I think there's a really good possibility that they have 2 in the system. I don't know about on the active roster. I think with the expanded practice squads, I think you have 16 spots now. It would make some sense to make sure you had some, you know, an emergency kicker in case something happens, you know, with the whole pandemic in that situation. If you lose a kicker on a Saturday, you know, you want to make sure you have someone around. And now I think you could put the rookie on the practice squad and go with Nick Folk if you wanted to do it that way.
It seems like you need 2 of everything now.
Yeah, you do.
Given the circumstances of this season, I was wondering, when are they going to sign a second kicker, whoever it is, experience or not? I know Rohrwasser's the rookie, but I just think you need that insurance policy given COVID-19 and what everyone's dealing with this season.
I agree.
All right, guys, good stuff as usual.
All right.
That'll do it for this training camp edition of Patriots All Access. For Megan O'Brien and Paul Perillo, I'm Steve Burton. Have a great week, everybody. See you later.